Hi, Emily. So I got your file and I see what the problem is right away. Um, so you were saying that this cannot be printed. The reason why is there's too many negative spaces trapped in here. Now this model, the way it came to me, it's all booleaned together. So I can't really do much with it in this state. You'd have to send me the whole model if you wanted me to fix it, but I can tell you how to fix it. It looks like you've got just a mirror image here. So this area here also needs to be addressed, but let's start with these in here. The printer sees all these little tiny voids in here. It's going to see that, and it knows that it can't. It not only knows that it can't pr print it that way, because some of these places don't have things to hold on to. When you print something, all the structure has to be supported. So it always has to be growing on top of something. So you'll end up with these little spots that are kind of floating in space as the printer reads it. So what you need to do is just fill that area in, which would be filled anyways if you were to actually be able to cast it. Now, one thing you can do is if you know somebody who has a Revo mill, you could have this milled, and it would come out in the mill. The mill will just get as far down as it can and then call it a day. So you could have it milled, but if you want to have it printed, you just have to fill those voids in. But the other thing here is that these little tiny tips, like if you're using Shapeways or something, it's gonna not let you print that because it's too thin right there. So I don't know who's doing your printing, but if it is like Shapeways or something like that, all you have to do there is you have to just make that area thicker. So without getting too far into this, what you need to do, and I kind of just made something similar here. So it looked like you had started off with you know, I forget what this is called, a helix around curve. If I just take that and pipe it, and then and this is just an example, and yours is has much more dimension to it. All right, so let's say that I like this and I want to print it. And this is kind of basically what's happening with your model, is that you've got these voids in here. All you got to do is take that line and pipe it, and that fills in your areas. And you'll have to play around a little bit with how big big it should be. But basically you want the bottom of the curve, you want it to hit. See this little halfway point? I want mine to hit right about there. I'm sure there's some fancy way to measure this, but it's almost easier just, you know, that's about right. That's where I want it. All right, and then is this transform 3 times? Here, I'm get rid of these and transform 4 times. Let's see. All right, so that's all you got it. That's hilarious. Oh. All right. So that's how you fix it. It's just wherever the lines exist on your model here that you use to actually make these curves, run some pipes through them, and that ought to help. I don't know how you made this. It almost looks, it kind of looks like helix round curve. Is this the chain? Is this out of the chain library that you bought? Um, you know, if you're doing it, if you're still, even if it's a chain, you still just have to fill it in. So basically you want these pieces to be on a surface. You don't want them to be a surface. And that actually works out really well because the inside of the ring, you don't really want this to be braided like that because it's kind of rough. You'd want it to be smooth, right? So when you make your surface, um, you want it to hit all of these areas. I guess another thing you could do, but see, some of these are lower, like this is lower than this one. So basically when you turn off this layer color, you want to see a ring there that is basically that same shape, and then this is just kind of on top of it. So that's how you would go about modeling that. And not knowing exactly how this was made, I don't know how to address this issue so much, but something has to change here. Um, this is just going to come out real muddy in the casting. In fact, they'll probably put a sprue there. That's another thing to think about. If you know, at this point, there's no place for a sprue to be attached on this model. So another reason why it's nice to keep the inside of the ring solid is because you can then put the sprue there without any problems. Um, Gosh, there was one other thing about this ring I wanted to tell you. Let me hit pause and think about. Oh, I remember what it was. Something like this. It's possible for something like this to grow on one of the newer machines that they're coming out with, where it laser sinters gold together. However, it wouldn't be there's not enough solid areas to make it a workable solid piece that could be wearable for a long time. So um, you know, even when the technology improves to where you can print something like this, you're still going to want to go through the changes that I just mentioned. Now, the other thing too is if you calculated your weight of this piece based on what you have here, your weight might be way off. So keep that in mind as well. Um, and what you can do, there was no ring rail on this, but um, you know, like I would start over. Make your pipes. Looks like you've got 3. Make 3 solid pipes and run this chain over the pipe and then mirror it. And then somehow you've got to make the interior solid there. And what you can do with that is just take your lines that you had drawn and make them into a shank, like surface model them into a shank. But all right, so that's how I would fix it.